Hi, my name is Shane Lawrence, and this is the first episode of Industrial+Beers. Today we have Slava Nartakhov from Technotron, Nebulae Complex, Purity+Control fame, and yeah, I got some questions for him, and we're just going to have a nice little discussion with some beer about industrial. So, we shall get started. What was your first entry point into industrial music? And if you want, you can mention the first album you got into as well.
Over 10 years ago, in fact I would say almost over 11 years ago, I have gone into industrial music through multiple channels actually. Much like most people who get into more experimental, noisy and darker side of alternative music through acts such as Rammstein and Marilyn Manson.
Rammstein, yes.
I did get into them when I was 15, had a bootleg DVD back in Russia which was a compilation of their live shows as well as some music videos of their era from about 1990, 5-6 when they just started to about 2002.
Yeah, something like that, I have no idea.
That was not necessarily an entry point, but rather a precursor.
Okay.
I wanted to get into it more. And another little curious thing that happened was when I was about 15, that was actually way over than 10 years ago, a little bit longer than that. I was watching this Russian cable TV channel called Music Box.
Oh, okay.
Aside from Muse TV, which was the mainstream Russian channel, and MTV Russia, which were not particularly interesting to me due to the type of content they were broadcasting and showcasing, I was looking for more underground, more avant-garde, darker, and just heavier stuff, you know.
Okay.
And I saw the video, and that Music Box channel, all they were showing is music videos back to back. All ages, all genres, everything.
Interesting.
So aside from whatever is hot and new and
so none of this reality TV bullshit?
No. None of the reality TV, not even VJs, nothing, just music videos, 24/7.
Oh, interesting.
That's all there was to it. Which, both Russian and Western acts.
Okay.
And I saw a music video of Umf, Gekreuzigt.
Okay.
I would say at about 3 a.m. I was just watching TV. My old apartment, my parents' right?
Yep.
And that was the sound I was certainly familiar with, but at the same time there was something different about it, something noisier, something more inviting to me. Being a young punk and metalhead, I just wanted to get into more interesting things.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this sounds similar to Rammstein, I should look into it more. And then I looked into it more and came across the term industrial.
Okay.
Then I heard the term again while listening and reading Russian Underground Music magazine, and there was a big article about the Nine Inch Nails return with the album of Teeth.
I see. Okay.
Where I got intrigued even more, and eventually I got into Nine Inch Nails, and then back to more old school acts such as Einstürzen den Bauten.
Okay.
Just even a little bit of Throbbing Gristle at a time when I was probably 16, 17.
Okay.
So the first album, multitude of albums actually, but the album that defined the hostile metallic.
You can mention it, if it's multiple albums, go ahead and mention that as well.
Stahlmusik by Einstürzen den Bauten, 1980.
Okay.
Pure noise ambient, almost droney, very metallic sounding.
Oh, okay.
Just typical noises of construction site, laid out in a very atmospheric way. And this is what got me interested in the overall sound. And then I got into more dancey, more modern aspects of it, such as post-industrial and EBM.
Okay.
There is that.
All right. And that leads to my next question. How did you get into writing, producing industrial music?
While moving and planning my move to Canada as a teenager after I finished high school back in Russia, I was already playing music, mostly punk and metal. And mostly metal for that matter. I was a bass player for quite some time already, practicing very consistently and being very interested in playing more traditional hard and heavy music on bass. One of my role models was Steve Harris of Iron Maiden.
Oh, really?
Lemmy from Motorhead, Cliff Burton.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
some of the
Cliff Burton.
traditional heavy metal bass players. That's a little bit later. That's a little bit later.
Oh, wait.
But I did get into that too.
Yeah. Isn't the lead singer's name Cliff Burton?
No.
Oh, fuck. Never mind.
Burton C. Bell.
Oh,
Burton C. Bell of
Okay,
Fear Factory.
My mistake.
Cliff Burton was unfortunately now deceased. Bass player of Metallica.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I
Early
know that
Metallica,
very
yeah.
well, so.
But anyways, so I was already playing bass for quite some time, and in about fall 2007 when I moved to Canada, or as I was moving to Canada, late summer, early fall 2007, and as I listened to Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine, and as I was realizing the way it was made was pretty much young Trent Reznor playing with whatever instruments he got in the studio, that got me thinking, maybe I should expand my expertise and my music interest beyond playing bass in a metal band.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be a little bit more of a multi-instrumentalist, and eventually one thing led to another, and after discovering a whole plethora of more dance-friendly industrial and EBM acts,
Okay.
most notably Grendel, Frontline Assembly, Front 242, another such act, I decided to make music along these lines.
Okay. All right. Next question. What were your first instruments and software that you used for industrial music?
The first instruments and software were the Reason 3, Reason version 3 that was released again over 10 years ago, that I bought in Russia, installed and brought on my laptop to Canada. And while being in Canada, later in the fall 2007, I got one of the older generation Axiom M61.
Yeah, I think I remember
Axiom
that.
M61, yes.
Wasn't that used or
MIDI
something?
keyboards? No.
You got it used or was it new?
Brand new from
Oh,
Max
really?
Music.
I thought you got it from Evan or something.
No.
Oh, okay, never mind.
There were a lot of other instruments, of course, I went through after that, so there might have been a case with something else, but that particular one was new.
Okay, sure.
Got into it. I wasn't really writing and producing at the time, more so just dabbling and trying to learn things.
Yeah.
A little bit of here, a little bit of there on the fly.
Yeah.
But to reiterate my answer, the first instruments were Reason version 3, running on the old laptop, as well as the older generation Axiom Axiom 61, M61 MIDI keyboard.
Okay. What is your current setup, and do you mind if we take a look at your pieces?
We can certainly take a look at my pieces.
Cool.
And if I were to elaborate on my setup, I actually have multiple setups
Yep.
that always come and go and change all
Sure.
the time. The core of my setup is still laptop running Reason for the studio and production.
Yep.
Sometimes I use other tools and other DAWs such as Ableton and Reaper.
Cool.
And in terms of hardware, I have a whole bunch of hardware instruments, but most notably MS-20 Mini.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's see your setup here.
Alright, so first things first, here is just my regular workplace.
Okay.
Where I work in software-centric setup, if you will.
Sure.
Oftentimes, although when I'm working in software, I submix, record, sample, cut, and make noise with hardware.
Yep.
Right now, I've got a little sampler going on over here, just to showcase some of the sample playing that I use.
Sorry, where?
Right here.
Oh, yes. Okay.
This little MPX-8 piece. One day, I would like to get more serious into hardware sampling, live sampling, and
Sure.
doing these things on the fly, and possibly get an Electron or something along these lines, more
nice.
serious.
Yep, nice.
But this is just a simple little piece for some little sample work that I play live or use in studio.
Sure.
I've actually got something loaded here. Fragments of the song Zero City by Technotron. So there's that, and aside from this piece, I would like to showcase a fantastic instrument, MS-20
Sure.
Mini.
Sure.
Very rough sounding, very analog.
Yep.
Let me hook it up
Sure.
and show you some of the things we do. It is plugged into a whole bunch of different pedals. So let's see what we can do with it. like to explore the possibilities of what it can do. I've
Yeah.
done quite a bit of research on the way the sound is generated, the way the signals work. Like I said, it's 100% analog piece. So you get this very, very pleasant, imperfect in a good way, analog sound.
Okay.
And one of more interesting patches that I saw online and decided to adopt and adapt to some of my live electronic improvisation as well as studio work is this little self-oscillating loop where I use the square-shaped LFO modulation generator to retrigger the signal itself,
Okay.
thus making an endless signal loop. So that's a MS-20 signal by itself. I like to run it through multiple pedals. Let's do some filter self-oscillation. MS-20 has one of the best analog filters. Makes fantastic filter sweeps. Very gritty.
Interesting.
This is just one of the ways I like to approach electronic music, both live and studio.
Oh, okay.
I love the approach that I can use working with MS-20. Drastically different than working with software.
Yeah.
Obviously less precise. I cannot store, load, or write patches.
Yeah.
I have to document them externally somehow. But at the same time, great versatility and great hands-on noise making. Sometimes I do end up using these noises that I produce. Sometimes it's fun to just jam, to get into that mood, get into the zone for more refined music production.
Okay.
I do have multiple other instruments, multiple other synthesizers. In fact, the first real analog synth that I adopted and really got acquainted to is not this, but a little microbrute. I have used it extensively in Technotron performances, in detached objective performances, and in performances with some of my other acts.
Yeah.
I still use it quite often, but this is certainly an analog flagship of my studio, if you will.
Do you... sorry, go ahead.
I do have a Roland JDXI, but it's currently packed, and I thought I would center and showcase this.
Sure.
For the purpose of discussion we're having here, but as far as Roland JDXI goes, it's complete opposite of this. It's modern, slick, digital, shiny synthesizer, and it's perfect for sound sketches.
Cool.
Completely different approach, but still good for sound sketches because you can create, load, store, and just make sequences on the fly.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I was going to ask you what do you primarily use these pieces for, but you kind of went into that stuff already, so... So, what do you think about the origin, what do you think of the philosophy that it's not the gear you have, but how you use it?
Certainly that makes sense.
Yeah.
I do believe that different gear can be used differently, and what matters most is not the amount of money or the amount of gear you get for the sheer purpose of getting gear, but you just have to find the gear that you really click with. And there are many ways of using the same instruments. I've seen a lot of different acts who use the same instruments completely differently.
Okay.
I'm talking about synthesizers, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And I think when it comes to that philosophy, overall it makes sense.
Okay.
Don't get things just for the sake of getting things. Find something that works for you.
Yeah.
And use it to its fullest potential to extend your creativity and create new music.
All right. What do you think about the origin of Industrial? Just a bunch of people who picked up an instrument that they didn't know how to use and proceeded to make music out of it. Does that aspect of Industrial affect your music making, or does it even matter?
No, that's not what I think about this, and I don't think we have time or capacity to elaborate on this topic in great detail, because this topic is essentially a full documentary, a full encyclopedia in itself, if you will. But I do believe that industrial music, and most importantly its precursors from early to mid 20th century, were the form of avant-garde art.
Yeah.
And when Throbbing Gristle started the term industrial music and started their career in, 74, 76, something like that, I think they were just young radicals looking, essentially expressing things in a punk way, but were trying to channel it through different musical means.
Sure.
And different instruments. Perhaps they didn't have capacity, or they didn't have... Again, I used to know this stuff more, but from what I remember, like Chris and Cozy and them, and legendary Monte Gazazza, they just wanted to make a statement that all this smooth jazz and whatever was more prevalent in the 50s and 60s is the music of past, it's the music of agrarian society and whatnot, and they just wanted to create a sound of grey, gritty, modern concrete jungle. And it worked perfectly.
Interesting.
Again, very complex topic. Just some of my thoughts on the topic.
Okay. So, I know we've kind of already mentioned this before, but... oh, actually we haven't. Is there any gear that's coming out, or just gear that you want that excites you?
A few pieces, certainly.
Yeah.
I did mention Electron Octatrack.
Yes, you did, yeah.
Possibly some of the other Electron pieces.
Okay.
Money and capability, depending. We will see how things go over there.
Sure.
In terms of actual synthesizers, I got a chance to play with the Korg Monologue.
Oh,
and
yes.
I will possibly be getting one of those at some point.
I was going to ask you, when we're talking about your Microbrute?
Microbrute, yeah.
Yeah.
Microbrute.
Were you not going to trade that for Monologue?
At some point I was thinking about that, but I want to keep Microbrute.
Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic little lo-fi synthesizer.
Okay.
So I think even if I were to get Monologue, I would use Monologue and Microbrute a little bit differently.
Okay.
And both would complement each other very well in my final songs.
Sure.
That works.
Sure. So, is there any other gear that excites you right now, or anything that's come out recently, like any of the Behringer stuff, anything like that, or?
Now that you mention it, I didn't look into it in detail, but it does interest me how Behringer essentially is trying to make the hardware and the sound and the gear that was a hallmark of electronic music for decades more affordable, which I can certainly appreciate, and one day may be interested in.
Yeah, okay. Alright. Interesting. We already answered this question, but I'm going to ask you it anyway.
Go ahead.
Do you prefer to stay in the studio, or do you enjoy playing out live as well?
Both.
Okay.
Ultimately, I feel like more of an end goal is presenting my music live.
Sure.
To be heard by people and to interact with people.
Yeah.
But I do like writing music as well. However, I do feel that most of the times the end goal is certainly
the live show.
The live show.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay. Different topic. What is exciting you right now in the goth industrial scene? I don't mean here, but internationally. Any music that perks your interest, or even upcoming live shows?
Tons. tons and tons and tons, and
Yeah.
even more so. I feel like in the last 5 years or so, there's certainly been a resurgence and explosion of tons of underground acts from all over the world.
Yeah.
And if I were to mention something specific, Verboten Festival,
Yep.
which I already played twice with 2 different acts, Technotron and Detached Objectives,
Yep.
is coming up this spring, and I'm looking forward to being part of it, as well as checking out and appreciating and seeing live and discovering some of the other musicians who play at Verboten. That's one thing. In terms of Calgary, Sled Island tends to bring some interesting avant-garde acts,
Yeah.
as well as Deacon's Base Terminus Festival.
Terminus. Did you say Terminus?
I did say Terminus.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Terminus. Okay. We'll talk about that a little bit after. Any bands in the local scene here in Calgary exciting you?
Absolutely. I feel like I have been more local and dedicated. My apologies. I have been more dedicated and passionate about local scene
Yeah.
about 2 or 3 years ago, where I used to go out to more shows, and I want to make this the case again in 2018. If I were to mention specific names, Melted Mirror is one of the great synthesizer and industrial type bands.
They're more of like they're almost like dark synth pop.
They
I
are
think.
very much so dark synth
But it's
pop,
not even like pop though, and at least I don't think it is. Like it's
post-punk,
a
little bit.
Yeah, a bit of post-punk.
Even some krautrock.
Fuck, I don't know. I don't even know enough krautrock to make a
Judgment call.
Yeah, to make a judgment call.
Some of the other acts certainly, which we like to work together, right?
Yeah.
I would say that. Some of the other local acts, Strangers from Edmonton,
Yeah.
fantastic band. We have clicked. We love working together, playing together.
Yeah.
Always support these guys. And Pandemic 9, Brooke, another great friend of ours.
Yeah, Brooke, yeah.
So, in a nutshell, I love the passion and dedication of a lot of local music artists, and if they're doing something, especially in terms of live show, I do my best to support it.
Alright. Cool. Any last words?
Thank you.
Yeah?
Thank you.
And?
And
Anything else?
I am working on a lot of new things
Cool.
for 2018.
Do you want to show us some of that?
I would like to show you some of that.
Yeah, is that cool?
That's absolutely cool.
Go ahead, man.
So first things first, here is a piece of Purity+Control track called Deficiency Exploited.
Okay.
It's brand new. Brand new. Played it twice already last November, but there'll be more.
Cool. So what is this called?
Deficiency Exploited.
Okay.
We're just going to go through a little bit of it so you understand what the track is about. Apologies. Vocals haven't been recorded yet. Finalizing the instrumental and live versions. You get the overall idea of the song. That's one.
Yep.
Another one. Technotron, Black Body Radiation is another work in progress. Yes.
Did you not do a song called that already?
That's a Technotron song that's now being recorded. I have played it a lot with a whole bunch of different acts, but there's no recording out yet, and there just might be one.
Okay.
And rough vocals have been recorded, but I'm just going to showcase the instrumental piece.
You're not gonna show us the vocals?
They are not ready yet.
Okay.
And I'm just going to fast forward to over here. Not necessarily a club track, but when the song was conceived in my head, thought it a more atmospheric show opener and an indication of where, at least, I would like to take the sound of the songs I'm producing for Technotron and otherwise. Some dark techno, electro-industrial.
Are you going to be playing this live for the show in Vancouver?
Absolutely. You get it.
Cool.
There's a bit of a drone touch to it. Yes, he's still going. So those are some of the works that I have been concentrating as of late.
All right. Last question here. What are your various sites and social media channels?
I have tons.
Do you know them off by heart?
I can tell you some of the good ones.
I'll link them in the video. So
absolutely. So Technotron on Facebook. If you search the pages Technotron with K, you will find the official page for one of my projects, Technotron. Purity+Control on Facebook. Important thing, there are at least 2 other bands that I know of that play hardcore punk that are North American based called just Purity+Control. But because the name was conceived independently and I haven't done as much research as maybe I should have, and because I like the name and where it came from, I decided to name our act Purity+Control. So in space, just go Purity+Control, search pages, Facebook, Calgary based. This is us. Okay. Add me on Twitter at Technotron and at Metalmaester as one word. Those are some of the main ones. And you can find Technotron's music on Bandcamp for free, technotron.bandcamp.com. And you can find my other works on Bandcamp at Metalmaester Productions Bandcamp.com.
Okay. All right. I guess that concludes this episode of Industrial+Beers. BRAP On, fuckers.
Thank you.